How many of us are living our lives trying to be enough? The perfect partner, the dependable friend, the flawless professional. Because somewhere along the way, we learned that love had conditions. Maybe it was the subtle look of approval when we got good grades, the praise that came when we were easy to manage, or the sting of rejection when we dared to say no. What if I told you that love, real love, isn't something you earn, and that unlearning these conditions could change everything? Hey everyone, I'm Kira Wackett. Welcome to another episode. And today we're diving into a conversation about conditional versus unconditional love. How so many of us have been conditioned to believe love is transactional, and what we can do to break free from that shame-driven mindset. Inspired by the work of bell hooks and grounded in empathy, we'll explore how compliance can become the gateway to love in childhood, and why that makes it so hard to give or receive unconditional love as adults. And most importantly, how we can begin to untangle ourselves from this web and redefine what it means to be worthy of love. So let's start by defining what we mean when we say conditional love. Conditional love is love that is contingent on certain behaviors, achievements, or qualities. It's the idea that I'll love you if, or I'll accept you when. As children, we learn this dynamic early on. Maybe it's through praise only when we excel at school, compliance with household rules without question, or performing well in sports. The message becomes clear. Love, approval, celebration, acceptance are earned, not freely given. Bell Hooks, in her transformative work on love, spoke to how we internalize these messages as children. When compliance becomes the gateway to love, we don't just learn to strive for it, we start to believe it's the only way to survive. And as we mature, this belief shapes our relationships, not only with others, but with ourselves. And the cost is significant. When love is conditional, we become trapped in a never-ending cycle of performance. We learn to tolerate mistreatment, dismiss our own needs, and assume it's our job to be everything for everyone else. After all, if we don't meet those external standards, who's going to love us? And so we hustle for worthiness, driven by shame, that quiet but persistent voice telling us that we are not enough as we are. We carry this conditioning into adulthood, creating relationships where we either demand compliance from others or bend ourselves like pretzels to meet someone else's expectations. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, we withhold unconditional love from ourselves. Now, before we rush to judgment, let's pause and build empathy for how we got stuck in these cycles. These patterns aren't a reflection of our weakness or failure. They're survival mechanisms, born out of the desire to connect and belong. See, our nervous systems are wired for connection. When we sense that love is at stake, we'll do whatever it takes to secure it, even if it means abandoning parts of ourselves. Compliance isn't weakness, it's a strategy we learn to protect ourselves. Recognizing this is the first step toward breaking free. When we understand that our drive to earn love is rooted in a learned survival strategy, we can approach ourselves with compassion rather than self-judgment. So how do we begin to disentangle ourselves from this shame-driven web? 1, awareness. Start by noticing where conditional love shows up in your life. What relationships or situations make you feel like you have to earn love or approval? Pay attention to the messages you tell yourself. If only I were more successful, more attractive, more agreeable, then I'd be worthy. 2, challenge the narrative. Once you recognize these patterns, challenge them. Ask yourself, who decided this was the standard for my worth? And what would it look like to be worthy just because I exist? 3, practice self-compassion. Remember, you don't have to believe everything you've been taught. Offer yourself the kindness and understanding you've been seeking from others. One practice I love is placing a hand over my heart and saying, I am enough as I am. Now, trust me, I know this sounds silly and dumb, and even though I'm standing here telling you to do it, I definitely still feel that judgmental resistance. Do it anyway. Next, redefine boundaries. Begin to set boundaries that honor your needs and values. This might mean saying no more often, stepping away from toxic relationships, or simply being honest about what you can and cannot offer. Next, seek out unconditional relationships. Look for and nurture relationships where love isn't contingent on performance. Surround yourself with people who see and celebrate you for who you are, not what you do. And finally, seek out some therapy and support. If this work feels overwhelming, seeking support by way of coaching or therapy can be a powerful step. Talking with someone trained to help unravel these patterns can provide invaluable insight and healing. Now look, unlearning conditional love is a journey, one that requires patience, courage, and a deep commitment to yourself. But it's worth it, because at the end of the day, you are deserving of love, not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are. Now, before you go, I want you to allow yourself to sit with this for a moment and notice what comes up for you. How are you reacting to the idea of conditional and unconditional love? What insight do you have about your own healing and next steps? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because we're trying to build a community around understanding and healing, and your voice matters as we do that. Now, if you found today's episode valuable and insightful, I'd love for you to hit that thumbs up, click subscribe, and of course, share this episode with someone you think could benefit from hearing it. And if you're ready to go deeper into understanding and healing your triggers, be sure to check out the show notes to download my handout, 5 things shame-resilient people do every day and 3 things they don't. You'll also find links to my website, podcast, and other resources to help you on your journey to shame resilience, as well as a link to set up a free discovery call to talk through any of these pieces with me. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Remember, you have the right to author your own story. So let's go get that pen back. I'll see you next time.